Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 12. Dan's back, so today we'll be discussing the impact of the Rugby World Cup pool draws and what it means for England's route to the final. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hi guys, welcome back to the England Rugby Pod. Today we are going to just discuss in a little bit more detail the announcement from last week regarding the groups for the World Cup in 2019. Obviously a pretty key part of what this podcast is all about. I'm joined, of course, by Dan, who's here with me now. Hi, Dan.
Hi, mate. Good morning. How are you doing? How are you feeling post Vegas?
Yeah, pretty tired. Just trying to get through today, get back into bed, and just try and kick the jet lag as soon as possible.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely, like I say, physically just battered, mentally traumatized, and just trying to get back to usual. Actually, on the plane on the way back, which was quite interesting, like a fool, I decided to take a sort of sleeping tablet before, and as it turned out, I was sitting literally, well, just across the aisle, but right next to Jason Leonard. Nice.
What did he have to say for himself?
Well, that's it. I was such a zombie from the sleeping tablet, and I don't think he was. What I could gather just by the group he was with, I think he might have been on a rugby tour with a team somewhere. I'm not sure which team it was. They weren't a professional team, but he was coming back from because we were flying back from LA. He was coming back as well, so I think he was probably fairly tired himself. But it just felt like a real missed opportunity. I mean, I'm sure he didn't want me hassling him on the flight back, but had I not taken that sleeping tablet, I think I would have taken more of an opportunity to try and sort of have a chat with him. So a fairly pointless story, but it was still something that was interesting for me to sit right by a sort of England rugby legend.
Awesome. So you saw him. That was it. Yeah, I mean, I saw him on TV not long ago, which was really interesting as well.
Well, I got to shake his hand.
Oh, nice.
That's about as far as it went. That's about as far as it went.
Just there as a fan.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Well, let's crack on. It's probably gonna be short and sweet, but yeah, we wanted to have a bit more in-depth chat and actually discuss what happened rather than just having me read out who's in which group. But just before we get started, a couple of new reviews to share. The first from US Pellet, I think that's how it's supposed to be said, who says, well put together and conveyed podcast. Thanks for sharing. Good luck en route to 2019. 5 stars. So thank you for that. And then all the way from Hong Kong, Villagio726282 says, I too believe England will win the Rugby World Cup in 2019. Great chat from the hosts. Look forward to the next ones. Hopefully he means the next episodes rather than the next hosts. Also 5 stars. So thank you.
Sounds
Villagio.
Like a very knowledgeable guy.
Guys, please keep your reviews coming on iTunes, and you can keep up to date with all of the kind of goings on in the England camp, at least as far as what we're able to dig up for you on our website, www.englandrugbypod.com, and you can get in touch with us on social media at England Rugby Pod. Right, so I guess we'll start with a very quick rundown of the groups. Obviously, Group C is the key one for us, but very quickly, Group A, Ireland, Scotland, Japan, EU1, and the playoff winners. Group B, New Zealand, South Africa, Italy, Africa 1, and the repechage winners. Group C, England, France, Argentina, America 1, and Oceania 2. And then Group D is Australia, Wales, Georgia, Oceania 1 and Americas 2. On paper, England in Group C have the toughest group in terms of qualification, not in qualification, in terms of getting through to the knockout phases, simply because, well, England, France and Argentina, I guess it's tough on paper, but in my opinion, not so much for England. I think both France and Argentina are teams that we'd probably be pretty confident playing. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not as tough as 2015 group, I don't think. France worry me a little bit. At the moment, they probably don't cause me undue concern, but who knows what they'll look like. They're definitely a better team than what they have been. So if they keep improving, they actually could be a real threat come 2019. I would still fancy us. Argentina, I think, will get a brilliant insight, obviously, with the tour this summer. I can't see them sort of changing as dramatically as France could. They don't have the sort of level of infrastructure, so I can't see them making sort of massive leaps either way. But it is a tough group. I think the other thing that's interesting is when we look at sort of America's 1 and sort of Asia 2, or is it Asia 2?
Oceania 2.
Oceania 2, yeah, sorry. When we look at them, although there's not a part of me that thinks we'll lose those matches, they could still be physical matches. They could still take more out of us than perhaps sort of other top nations will get from their groups.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we look at those two, so America's 1. So America's, you've got USA, Uruguay, and Canada are the three that are most likely going to qualify. USA most likely at the top because they're a fair way ahead of both Uruguay and Canada. So the chances are we have USA in our group, and then from the Oceania 2, or from Oceania pot, we get the second place, which is looking likely to be between Fiji, Tonga, and Samoa. And again, Fiji looking likely to be Oceania 1, and therefore it's Tonga or Samoa for us in there, who both of whom are physical sides. So USA and then probably Tonga or Samoa likely to join us. I mean, USA have got a few interesting players at the moment, haven't they? Who's the guy we talked about last week, or whenever it was, a couple of weeks ago? Fastest guy in world rugby. That ridiculous winger who's come over from the Sevens circuit, Nguyen. Is it Nguyen?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. He's like rapid. I mean, just beyond rapid. But you know, our wings, as we've sort of discussed, our wings are by no means slow. And USA are probably my least worry from the teams in our group, because I just think we are too strong. I just can't see a scenario us losing to USA. And actually, although although they're an ever improving team, they don't quite have the physicality of the Oceania team. So that match, I think, is less worrying. Probably we'll see a much weakened England team go out against them. Whereas if you're talking Samoa, Tonga, again, I think we've got too much for them to actually beat us. But they can hit hard, and it may take something out of a few of our key players. But then it may not. I mean, rugby at that level is so physical now anyway, with any country, that the bodies are fairly conditioned to it. But it's one of those matches. Let's put it this way: I'd prefer to be facing a repechage sort of World Cup qualifier rather than a Samoa or Tonga.
True. I mean, I think the reality is, looking at this entire World Cup group setup, I don't think any of the bottom two in any of the groups are going to present any real issues for the teams further up outside of our group, which is obviously the key focus for us. I guess Group A with Ireland, Scotland, and Japan. Japan in the past have been underrated, and obviously we saw in 2015 that they're clearly not a bad side at all. Whether they are as useful when they're not under Eddie Jones will be interesting to see. But I think that Ireland and Scotland, probably more Scotland than Ireland, need to not sort of take for granted the fact that Japan is the third best team in that group, because I think they'll present them with some problems. But Scotland did them in 2015, and I think it's probably Ireland, Scotland going through from Group A.
I would have thought so. I mean, Japan obviously have the home advantage, which I think will be massive. But Scotland are a pretty good team these days. I guess it will depend. If they keep on the same path, then I'd fancy Scotland sort of 99 times out of 100. But then I never would have guessed Japan turning over South Africa either. Exactly. So that could be quite an interesting match. Ireland, I think, are probably physically just that bit. I say that South Africa are not shy on the physical side. But yeah, for me, Ireland probably win that group with Scotland second.
Yeah, I agree. New Zealand obviously win their group with South Africa in second place. They've then got Italy beneath them, and then Africa won in the repechage. So Italy aren't going to turn over New Zealand or South Africa. So I think they are the two going through. Probably don't need to spend much more time on that one.
Yeah, I mean, Italy beat South Africa in the autumn internationals, but I don't think that's going to stand for much come 2019. Yeah, that's New Zealand, South Africa in that order.
Group D, Australia, Wales, and then Georgia. Georgia are kind of in the same vein as Italy, really. A lot of talk about them replacing Italy in the Six Nations, although I don't think it's going to happen. And I'm not sure that Georgia can offer anything more than Italy. I'm not sure Georgia are better than Italy. So I think, again, Australia, Wales probably are the safe bet there. Although I guess it will be really interesting to see what Australia 2019 looks like, because they've not been great in the last couple of years. And, you never know with Wales. So it wouldn't be a total shock for Wales to go through ahead of them. But I'm going to still assume Australia with Wales the runner-up in D.
Yeah, I mean, Australia, because obviously they're losing a franchise as well. So Australia rugby is actually not in the best position at the moment. If you look historically, Wales just can't seem to beat Australia. But a one-off match, yeah, I mean, that one could go either way, definitely. I mean, it's definitely those two going through. I'd say, 99% it's those two going through. And as we speak now, I would say it will go Australia, Wales, but if it goes the other way, it wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, the advantage, Australia, Wales in that order, and assuming therefore that in our group we go through at the top with either France or Argentina, and I suspect France going through in the second spot, would actually see us against Wales in the quarters.
Wales will be quite interesting. I mean, they've got, as we do, but maybe less so. But Wales have got a few players who are maybe sort of coming towards the end of their career. I mean, that can go either way. They can either just have one last massive push for a World Cup, or it could just be a step too far for them. I know they've got some young guys coming through as well, but there's going to lose some key guys out of that. I mean, we've already seen the likes of Jamie Roberts, who's been such a powerhouse for Wales over the years, now sort of struggling to make their team and just gradually falling off the radar. Perhaps a Lee Halfpenny might be going down that route as well. And Alan Wynne-Jones could be struggling in a couple of years. Yeah,
no, there's a handful of them, I think, who are going to be struggling come 2019. I think a lot of it's going to be about the guys coming through and whether they can get them through soon enough to get them the experience that they need for a World Cup, rather than banking on the older boys who are around at the moment kind of lasting. Although, you look at England 2003, and there was a lot of chat about how they were taking a team that was too experienced, and that they didn't have enough young blood, and of course they turned over everybody. So
yeah, I mean, I think also you look at England 2003, they've been there, done it, they've beaten everyone in the world, and they were the best team in the world at that point, whereas Wales aren't at that stage. So it will be tough. I also feel from Wales' perspective that they've left it a bit late. I think Eddie Jones has been quite good. He's starting to bring through. He's building for the 2019 World Cup. I don't think Wales have started doing that yet, actually. I think they're probably going to start looking at that post-Lions. Whether that's because Warren Gatland's been preoccupied, I'm not sure. But for me, I think you need longer than 2 years to build a World Cup squad. So my personal opinion is Wales could struggle.
Well, I mean, the chances are they're going to face England in the quarterfinals. So let's write them off right now, because of course we already know that England are going all the way to the final and that they're going to win
exactly.
it. So Wales go in the quarters. So moving then on to the semis, because the other results from the quarterfinals I think will be, well, actually no, let's have a look at them. So the winner of Group A, we're saying Ireland. Against the runner-up of Group B, we're saying South Africa. I would say Ireland probably there.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think South Africa have enough about them at the moment, so I would fancy Ireland as favourites.
And we can only really base it on the teams as they are today. We can't predict what they're going to be like in 2 years. So on that basis, the winners of D, we're saying Australia against the runners-up of C, who we're saying is France. So Australia, France. I mean, that will be an interesting one. But I'm going to give it to Australia, just. So then you've got so Ireland then play Australia in the semis on the one side. On the other side, we've got the winners of B, New Zealand, against the runners-up of A, who we're saying is either Scotland or Japan, but we're saying Scotland. So New Zealand, Scotland in a quarter-final. Great for, well, it's not great really for anyone, is it? New Zealand are going to destroy them.
Well, destroy may be harsh, but yeah, New Zealand win that.
Yeah, so then you've got New Zealand, and then of course it's the winners of Group C, who we're saying is England, against the runners-up of D, who we're saying is Wales. We're saying England have got that. So then there's a New Zealand-England semi-final, which will be huge. But as I mentioned, we win the World Cup, therefore we beat New Zealand in the semis, and it's then.
So yeah, I mean, I agree. I think we do beat New Zealand in the semis, but that's we're not doing it. We're not doing it the easy route, but and that's to be world champions isn't easy. So that will be an incredibly tough match if it happens, which I think that will happen. I'm fairly confident that match will take place.
And then you've got either so that's England therefore in the final against either Ireland or Australia, and I'm saying I think Ireland. I think I'm backing Ireland over Australia, so that's how I'm getting to an England-Ireland final.
England-Ireland final would be great, wouldn't it?
It'd be amazing for Northern Hemisphere rugby in general, but yeah, it would also be just a great final, and just nice not to have New Zealand in the final again. If they've been taken out before then, it's kind of nice to just say like they may consider themselves the world beaters, but they couldn't even make the World Cup final.
Yeah, that's
it's a big ask, but it needs to be done, and if that's the route that we go down, then it's the route we go down. I mean, we talk about not making it easy for ourselves, but I think as Eddie Jones says, if you want to be the best in the world and you want to win a World Cup, you have to be able to beat anybody. It doesn't matter where you have to beat them. If anything, the final has more pressure on it. I mean, I'm not sure that's necessarily true, but once you're in the knockout stages, quarterfinal, semi-final, final, it's all the same thing, because if you lose, you're out. So
yeah, exactly, and I think the rest of the world will be happy to see sort of England and New Zealand likely clashing before the final, because I believe as it stands at the moment that we're probably the only team that can beat New Zealand.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I mean, obviously there will be we got the Lions going out there in the summer, so we're going to see a lot more of New Zealand then. We've previously on the podcast predicted a 2-1 Lions win, although I think that's more about just trying to back the boys. Whether we genuinely believe that, not sure. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, sticking to it. I mean, I think that's sort of voting with our heart rather than our head as such.
It's a big ask, but I think the key thing with that, we're not talking Lions today, but I think the key thing with that is getting that first win. If they can win the first test somehow, then the belief is there. I think if they go down in the first test, I don't know. Somehow seeing them win twice on the bounce just seems too much of a task.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the first test is key, and actually I think it's our best opportunity. Hopefully catch New Zealand just still a bit, just a bit rusty, not played as much rugby, whereas all of our guys will have played a lot of rugby. So first test will be a massive missed opportunity if we don't win that one.
Well, it'll certainly be interesting to see how that pans out, and of course that's coming later in the summer. But yeah, there you have it. There is the groups as they stand. Our predictions on how we think they will qualify out. How we think the knockout phases will end up looking, and how we're tracking England all the way to the final, and what we expect to happen there. And of course, when we get to the end, and it is England against Ireland, and England win by 12. There you go. You've heard it here. Get your bets in. England by 12 against Ireland in the World Cup final 2019 in Japan.
Wow, mate, that's a hell of a prediction. I can see an England-Ireland final. I'm not sure I'm ready to predict the score of that just yet, but yeah, I mean, look, and the reason we're doing this is because we actually do believe England will win it, and I still believe that, sort of seeing the groups be announced. It's with the groups, it's a tough one. When I saw it, I did look at it and think, right, we've got the toughest group again, but it didn't overly concern me. you know, it's hard to say whether that's a good or bad thing. So, you know, it's good to have those competitive matches. We'll go into the quarters, into the semis, being battle ready, whereas maybe New Zealand might not have been tested to the full, depending on whether South Africa sort themselves out or not. So maybe, you know, there's an argument to say that New Zealand could be a bit rusty come a semis if we met them, but there's also an argument to say they could be very fresh.
Yeah.
So,
and look, if by some miracle England don't win their group, but they do qualify in second place, it's just an easier route to the final. It's just that we would face New Zealand in the final. So it's not it's not like 2015 where, you know, it almost was an essential. Well, you know, first or second would have been fine then as well, but because of the group we were in, you know, it was kind of essential not to lose. I think, you know, we obviously go out to win every single game. That's the plan, and that's how we get to the final that we're predicting. But if something did go wrong, it wouldn't be a total disaster. It wouldn't be the end of the world. And if anything, it would be an easier route to the final because we wouldn't face New Zealand until the final. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. It's obviously you know, what World Cup's what this is all about, and yeah, I can't wait to see how it pans out. There's obviously a lot of rugby between now and then. A lot can change. A lot of youngsters going on tour to Argentina. It'll be really interesting to see how they get on. And of course, that's first game against the Barbars only a couple of weeks away. We'll be covering that, of course. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how this England team progresses. You know, Eddie Jones seems to have a very clear idea of what he wants to do with them and how he wants to do it. And you know, we saw what he was able to do with Japan, a team that had basically been written off as in any way any kind of a threat in world rugby, and yet they although they didn't qualify into the knockout phases, I think their results were the same as South Africa's and Scotland's. You know, they'd each won the same number of games.
So Japan could be, especially in Japan could be a sort of outside bet for just upsetting sort of the norm of international rugby.
Yeah.
And that'll be an interesting one. And like you mentioned, actually seeing it does. There's a lot of young players coming through. Some between now and then will really rise to prominence. Some will fall off the radar. We won't cover it now, but actually, you've seen obviously Woodward's called up a few others for training camp down in Brighton this week for the England versus Barbars match, as obviously there's quite a few players not available due to sort of their club duties.
Yeah, I mean, given that we're the England Rugby Pod and we obviously know about our rugby, we should probably just reiterate that it's not Woodward that's called them up, it's Eddie Jones.
Sorry. The reason I was saying that, oh my God, reason I was saying that is one of the players he's called up is Jason Woodward. So from Bristol, that's a hell of a save I pulled off there. But yeah, I mean, what you don't know, mate, but what I do know is it's actually still Woodward pulling the strings just under the guise of Eddie Jones.
Is that right?
But I let that slip. I probably shouldn't have.
Okay, Eddie, we don't believe that. I don't believe that. Great. Well, on that note, I think it's cool time on this one. I think we probably both need another nap. Just trying to kick this jet lag. But there you have it. There are the World Cup groups and our predictions, at least for what we think will happen in terms of qualifying out of those groups. And in my case, 12 points against Ireland in the final, 2019. Cheers, guys.
Can't wait. Thanks a lot, guys.